endeavor that has to be invested to keep it healthy and to let it not be trampled over by other things. So the title was Faith, the masterpiece of one's life, and the delicacy of the bhakti creeper, the bhakti plant. Sì. Va bene, sì, tanto adesso... Sì, come no, perdonatemi. So the first point which I thought was interesting to reflect on is how, bhakti is all about selfless service. The soul is a part and parcel of Krishna, and it does not, with liberation, with perfection, merge into oneness, but it remains a servant. And this is its original state, and of disinterested, free service to God, and from God also to His devotees. But this concept of a selfless action, a pure selfless action, is something that we cannot imagine being regularly in the material world. The material world, the scientists teach us, is a place where every living being, in a Darwinian thought, Darwin's theory, every living being is trying to fight against each other for his own existence. So a state in which the individual acts selflessly in service is a miracle, is something outside of the material dynamic. So we can think that the action of an individual without the desire of mundane recognizement, without the desire of fame, we can think about the individual that might do some heroic, selfless action in the hope of then receiving the fame of his nation, of his people. But this is beyond that. This is a state in which the soul acts above also this, something inconceivable almost. And this is the quality that characterizes a sincere action. Because an action is sincere when it doesn't have a double end. I'm doing this hoping to have another gain. But spiritual action is pure in this sense. And this is actually also sincere relationship. And this is what we can all think the soul is actually looking for. Even us in our materially driven lives, us that we are very confused still. What are we looking for in the end? We are looking for a sincere relationship with the other, but often we are not able to acquire that. And this sincere relationship is our original truth as a soul serving Krishna. So it's a very fragile state to which we are not accustomed to. And the dangerous thing is that as soon as it is interrupted, we might have brief glimpses of this, maybe some moments of devotion when we are surrounded by devotees, we are in some great feast, maybe Jamastami, and we are concentrated on devotional life, we somehow realize this nature, but as soon as that is finished, we are covered again, very deeply. And what happens is that the feeling that even that moment of sincere devotion brought to us, that is our nature. So naturally Krishna is described as Satchitananda, full of bliss. So when we are in that situation, some of His bliss is given also to us. So that moment of blissfulness that we can experience through mercy of Krishna, that will also could be very quickly forgotten. And when that is forgotten, the whole possibility of spiritual life, the whole possibility of the soul as Krishna's servant is forgotten, and we dive deeply, always more in a more materialistic conception of life. And at the moment, there's a famous example of a frog if it is put in a pot with water. If you turn up the fire slowly, it won't realize that the water is getting warmer. But if you get to the point until the water boils, the frog won't have realized it, and it's a very dangerous situation. So this is somewhat of somehow our situation also, because we won't recognize the poisonous nature of this material condition that we are in, this our tendency to cheat, to have double ends, not to want to serve the other, have a sincere relationship with the other, but we're trying to cheat. And we won't realize it until it's too late. And the only moment in which we can understand again is if we are pulled out by the mercy of someone else. From mercy of the devotees, mercy that comes originally from the supreme source of mercy, which is Krishna. And at that moment, and it is, I think, in my experience, from what I can have realized, is that when we are in this illusion and we are not disturbed, that is a moment of greatest illusion. But when we start feeling torn inside of us and there is some conflict inside of us, that is the moment in which we can realize that this illusion is not our nature and that we have to look for something else. And that resisting to the warm bath of the frog, the resistance to that warmth is actually a good symptom, I hope. And so we said that this state could be imagined, but could be considered as a miracle. And this is because spiritual truth is something that we cannot imagine, we cannot guess. And how do we know something that is not visible to us, that we cannot, spiritual truth, Krishna's Leelas in Vrindavan, no, it's not something that we can speculate upon and realize and guess, So this is all spiritual truth. And in this way, how could we imagine a subject of our devotion to which to dedicate ourselves fully? This is all spiritual truth that we alone cannot reach. So this plant of bhakti, its seed is not something that we can produce in ourselves. It is something that has to be planted by an agent of mercy. So the seed is given by mercy. It is explained, it is not our good karma that can bring us to spiritual advancement, to spiritual life. It is not, if I do lots of charity, that then I will reach liberation or, self-realization. It is because this is non-material things, and charity, even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, charity can be done in three gunas, the three gunas, which is tamaguna, rajaguna, and sattvaguna. But sattvaguna is still material. It is not part of this transcendental truth that is spiritual life and devotional life. So it is not our good actions that bring us to liberation. It is not our good actions, material good actions, sattvaguna good actions that give us the opportunity to begin spiritual life, but is the mercy of a devotee. Bhaktilata is the name of this creeper plant, this little plant of bhakti, Bhaktilata. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Prabhupada, which is our spiritual master, our Shiksha spiritual master of all the ISKCON community, and he translated and published countless books. One of these books is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu's condensate of Nectar of Devotion. And it is said in the Nectar of Devotion, only developing faith in the company of a pure devotee or having performed devotional activities in your previous life can you effectively taste the sweetness of devotional service. And it is explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that the beginning is listening. Devotees talk about Krishna in the company of devotees that have purified their heart through association as well. To listen that transcendental activities of the Lord will bring always a feeling of transcendental blissfulness. And from that blissfulness comes faith. It is the most, all over the world, even in Western spiritualism and Western philosophy, there are currents that say, when I am blissful, when I experience great, ecstatic emotion, I know that that is the truth. And this is the same, almost, the same principle. And it is also said in Bhakti Rasamrita in Nectar of Devotion by Prabhupada that the original subject of this blissfulness that we into which when we do service to this original subject, Krishna, then we are blissful. But at the same way, also when we serve his devotee, we can have the same experience. And this is how Krishna gives his mercy through the devotees also. So, spiritual truth is not something that we can realize, but it is something that is brought to us by Krishna's devotee. In the Svetashvatara Upanishad, it is also said, only to those great souls that have an absolute faith both in the Lord and in the spiritual master, all the aspects of Vedic knowledge are automatically revealed. And there's also this example, I was thinking, I was reflecting in how, also in the temple in Kirtan, maybe some of you know, there's often times when there is no sentiment. Gaudiya Vaishnavism is a tradition that gives importance to sentiment. The objective is sincere devotion to God, sincere love for God. So it is not sentimentalism because it is founded on Shastra, but the goal is to real sentiment. This is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught through his example. And so even in the temple, maybe there is moments in which you are not able for some reason to have any sentiment. But somehow, and as in this example it's explained, when you see a great devotee, he full of sentiment, he in this truth of his as devotional servant of Krishna, at that point also you reawaken somehow. That is his mercy that is given to you, and you are able to feel something. And there is this example, the example of Dhruva Maharaj, that can immediately generate a sentiment of devotional service in the heart of the listeners, Srila Prabhupada says, commenting on his story. This is because this infectiousness, it's almost infective, a devotee is able to give us, through his spiritual elevatedness, is able to mercifully give to us some knowledge, some comprehension, some sentiment, because it is also to say that this spiritual knowledge is one that is given through love. In the Brahma Samhita it is said that a devotee cannot understand God if his eyes aren't smeared with prema, and it is aren't smeared with devotion. So this is a knowledge that is given through devotion, that through that lens of devotion it is revealed. And also Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, I give the knowledge to reach me, to my devotee, proportionately to his surrender to me, and proportionally in compensation to his service to me. Krishna reveals himself in reciprocation to love. But if we don't have any love, how can he show himself to us? There is no exchange. If I have nothing to give, how can he give himself to me in this exchange? But the spiritual master is the one who is giving us this currency through his mercifulness. It is a fruit passed from hand to hand, from the high of a tree, a mango it is described, I think, that comes all the way down to us, intact, spiritual knowledge, intact, from the high of the tree to hand, delicately, and we can also at the bottom, and we have no idea what is inside the tree, behind all those leaves. We cannot imagine the fruit that there is, the taste of the fruit. We cannot imagine anything. We can't reach with our, rationality or speculative attempts. We cannot imagine the Goloka Vrindavana, the Krishna's abode and Krishna's pastimes and the personality of Krishna. And so only through the mercy of the spiritual master that passes down to us, we can receive this and we can understand this. And this is the same as he has received, all the way up to Krishna. We are the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So passing through Brahma, Narada Muni, and down all the way to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. There isn't a picture. Then Srila Prabhupada, and here we have Trai das Prabhu, who is guiding this, leading us in this journey. And why does the spiritual master do this? Because it's the instruction. Why does the spiritual master give this mercy to all the other? Because it's the instruction of his spiritual master. And that is because each devotee once knows that we are part and parcels of Krishna, that Krishna has expanded in us tiny parts different from him. We cannot merge back into him because he wants to have a relationship with us, with each and every one of us. That is why there is so many avatars of Krishna, so many Vaikuntha planets, in which every avatar of Krishna has specific relationship with each soul, and each soul has a specific attraction, specific relationship with each avatar of Krishna. So the spiritual master knows this and wants to give pleasure to Krishna, and so he knows that the most, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there is nothing there's no service dearer to me than who shares this knowledge with others. Because Krishna wants to have created us, each one of us, to have a relationship with us. And if we are dormant in this state, we have disappointed his project. But Krishna naturally cannot be disappointed. And so the will of the spiritual master is to reawaken us, and he reawakens us, giving us this currency of prema, so that Krishna, in reciprocation, slowly, and we can grow this little, giving the seed of bhakti, so that we can gradually grow it, delicately, carefully grow it. Prabhupada says, if one is convinced of this philosophic life, this is faith. The faith in the devotional service, that this process can work. There are 9 principles of devotional life. The first are Shravanam and Kirtanam, the listening and the singing of the glories of the Lord. This is the service, the devotional service that is for this era. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that now Brahmanas, it is not the time, Kali Yuga is not the time to do elaborate yagyas. It is not the time to do for that way of spiritual advancement. The most simple and in method in which Krishna has given his most empowerment and most mercy is the chanting of his names. We can see this in all religions. The most elevated spiritualists, their activity is the chanting of the names and the glorification through singing and through listening. Because Krishna is non-different from his name. We will see later also in the Sri Shikshastakam, which are Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only left 8 texts, 8 verses written. And here it is explained how the holy name in Kali Yuga, the holy names of Krishna in the Kali Yuga are empowered with all auspiciousness, with all the qualities of Krishna himself. So, Prabhupada says, this is faith. The conviction that this philosophical way of life, this devotional way of life, is perfection. This is faith. In the development of this faith, the nurturing of this creeper, of this plant, is Krishna consciousness. And I wanted to show you an image of this plant, how it is structured. And the root is the seed that has been planted by mercy. The first stage is faith, and the trunk of the plant is sadhusanga, association with devotees that are more advanced than us and that can teach us and that can give us this mercy of this devotion that we still don't possess, that can guide us so to not water other things, material activities, water our illusion, but to water our natural tendency, our original tendency to serve Krishna. So the most important thing, as we were saying, is the parampara. We cannot reach this truth by ourselves. The most important thing is devotee association, being anxious to be around devotees that are more elevated than us. So, abandonment, giving up material activities is possible only through full faith. Thus, renunciation is possible only through faith. Shraddha means firm faith with conviction, Prabhupada says. If I surrender to Krishna, all my affairs will be perfect and all my spiritual life will be perfect. But it is also interesting because Prabhupada says that it's gradual. Faith grows. And it grows through renunciation. But it is also interesting that renunciation needs faith itself. Because I cannot renunciate something if I'm not able to surrender to trusting a higher will that it will guide me better than what I am renunciating. That will give me something that is better for me than what I am renunciating. So for renunciation itself, there is need for faith. And also, you have to be able to trust, because you are all very fortunate that you have grown up with the concept of karma, of reincarnation, but in Western religions often, it is not easy to develop trust for God, because monotheism, God is present also in the West, but it is not, philosophically, He is not revealed in the truth in a way that you can trust Him. How can I trust a God that has given me no legs? How can I trust a God that has given me a very difficult birth, while to another He has given a very auspicious one? So we are very fortunate that we can develop trust for God, understanding through spiritual knowledge the material world that is around us. Because if we don't understand the material world that is around us, we won't be able to trust God. If we understand that we are not this body, that we are not this mind, and that everything is temporary, and that we come from the spiritual world, we will be able to understand what is around us and be able to understand that I am not here to enjoy this matter. I am not able to enjoy it. I'm not the supreme enjoyer. I'm just a tiny parcel with limited senses, a limited lifespan. It is obvious that it is not me that is the enjoyer. So at that point, when I am able to understand what is around me and understand my origin, I will be able to trust it, to trust Krishna. And Prabhupada says, at that point, devotees don't feel anxiety even if the mercy of the Lord isn't immediately manifest. And even after long prayers, they are not anxious, because they have the firm conviction that the Lord will protect them in any circumstance. Once that faith becomes strong, all mental agitations and doubts will dissolve thanks to the constant adoration, service to the Lord. And it is in this we can also understand being. I abandoned my fixation of being the enjoyer. I have realized I am the servant of the Lord. So all my anxieties naturally melt away, because all my plans for material enjoyment also melt away. Because it is said that pleasure in the material world is this when pain ceases. But also we can think that pain is the disappointment of our desire for pleasure, is the frustration of our desire for pleasure. So in this way, when we understand that we are not the enjoyer, all our anxieties dissolve. And at that point, we will be able to trust Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. Krishna is the cowherd boy, the mischievous cowherd boy in Goloka Vrindavana, eternally in inconceivable pastimes, much superior to anything we can imagine. So we are his part and parcel. We also search for enjoyment. It is the soul's nature. There's an example of the soul being like a heat-driven missile. I remember I heard this example. That where it sees pleasure, it goes. This is the nature of the individual. So we can surrender and know that when we will be purely serving Krishna, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, we will be serving in a beautiful circumstance, and through his pleasure we will also be happy, satisfied. As is part and parcels, if you give water to the root of the plant, all the plant will be relieved. So we will. Prabhupada says it is not artificial. You become gradually perfect through association. If Shraddha is present, the successive stage is sadhusanga. If you want to become Krishna conscious, if you have developed a little bit of faith in this, the successive step is association with sadhu. And this is what we were saying, that if this creeper isn't watered by someone else that has the abundance of to give to us, it will be very difficult for it to grow. And here is a little extract from, this is the verse, I didn't write down the verse, but of Dhruva Maharaj's story. Dhruva Maharaj continued, "O Lord, you are limited. Bless me kindly so that I can associate always with great devotees that are endeavored constantly in your service, in your transcendental loving service, as constantly the waves roll on the river. These transcendental devotees are completely situated in a state of life that is uncontaminated. Through this method of devotional service, I will surely be able to cross this ocean of nescience, of ignorance, of material existence that is full of dangerous waves burning like fire. It will be very easy for me because I am becoming mad in listening about your qualities and transcendental pastimes that exist eternally." So in this verse, we can see succinctly said everything that I was trying to say, basically. The quality of the soul and the quality of the devotee who has reached perfection is that he is always endeavored in devotional service. This is the nature of the soul, constantly. There isn't like we are used to have some moment of spiritual understanding and then complete forgetfulness. This is the goal, to reach constant devotional service. It is witnessable in great devotees. You know, all the bodily necessities are only in function to service. If you need sleep, yes, the body needs some sleep, but sleep is not for yourself, but is just to perform your service appropriately. And in this stage, it happens that that body is not material anymore, because the quality of the spiritual world, the quality of spiritual truth, is the constant endeavor in devotional service. And so when matter, which is just the lower energy of Krishna, is corrected in this quality of egotism that is in this material world, when this matter is put in service, Prabhupada makes the example, if you put a piece of metal in the fire, it will become non-different from the fire. It will touch things and burn them. So, the body of a great saint is spiritual. It is not material anymore because it is constantly in devotional service. Prabhupada says in our Krishna conscious, in our association, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we are fully endeavored 24 hours a day. Every moment of our time is always actively given in spirit of service to the Lord. This is called the incessant flow of devotional service. In this verse it was said that the devotees, the great devotees, are like the waves of a river. And see how also was said, it will be very easy for me to cross this ocean of nescience, this ocean of ignorance, if I am surrounded by your devotees and listening to your qualities. This Yuga Dharma, it is called, to sing and listen. The Dharma for this Yuga, for Kali Yuga, is to sing and listen to the holy names of the Lord and to His glories. So this is the only method. It is said there is no other way in this age to reach spiritual perfection than listening and chanting the names and the glories of the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj said that it will be very easy for me because I am becoming mad listening the qualities of your names. So this is the sincerity of the sentiment, pure love for Krishna. This is our duty. This is our spiritual duty, our spiritual dharma. Now Krishna says, abandon all forms of dharma and surrender upon me. This surrender is sincere relationship. In Christianity it is said, you love God through the 10 Commandments, which is, you shall not kill, you shall not desire the wife of someone else. But this is a very limited way of relationship, a very limited relationship. There's not much rasa, there's not much sentiment. But Krishna does not expect this. He is the supreme enjoyer. He expects something more elevated. So, in the same way, we do not only have to perform the rituals without any sincerity, but what it is expected from us is to become mad in listening the qualities and the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. And this is actually what we want also for ourselves. It is not a casual reason that all movies are surrounding some love story, some romance, because that is our natural tendency. That is what we are looking for, but we are not able to find a subject of our love that is sufficient, that is satisfying to us. In Krishna is that subject of love. We are made to be sincerely devoted in loving service to Krishna. And we try in material nature to find something like that, but we are not able to. And why is the association with devotees so important? Because through the association with devotees, you will be associating in the activities that are able to do so directly with Krishna. With the devotee, Yudhisthira das Prabhu was saying the other day, this movement, Krishna consciousness movement, is valuable, is important. Why? ISKCON is a sacred movement because it is fully engaged in this service. ISKCON is fully engaged in this service, and so it is something transcendental. So the devotees are always engaged in service, and you and their company will also be engaged in their service. This is the mercy that the devotee does. He asks you to engage in some service. And so, in his company, in the company of a devotee, we will be doing devotional service, and Krishna, as said in the Bhagavad Gita, the more you surrender to me, the more you serve me, the more I will reveal myself to you. I will give you the intelligence to reach me. It is said, if you do one step towards Krishna, Krishna does 100 towards you. Prabhupada says, advancing in the listening and in the chanting of Krishna's names, the devotee will fix his faith firmly, and gradually his initial faith will develop in a taste for devotional service. This is still from Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu commentary. So, the names, the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Archa Vigraha, the Murti, are non-different from Krishna, because the form of Krishna is non-different from him. It is said that I've heard that the Mahamantra, the names of Krishna, are Krishna in his sound form. They are non-different from Krishna. So the devotee, in the devotee's association, if the devotee puts you in devotional service, you will not only be associating with him, but with Krishna. The Mahamantra is the incarnation of Krishna in the Kali Yuga. But even without the danger is that without the encouragement, without the mercy of other devotees, it is very easy to forget this how Krishna is close to us, how available he is to be with us. The chanting of the holy names, the japa practice, if you don't have the stimulus, I'm speaking from my own experience, if you don't have the stimulus of someone else that encourages you, that pushes you to do it, with time you will forget how effective it is. You will forget the taste for devotional life, and then, not having taste, and the soul seeking relationships, seeking pleasure, will look for it elsewhere, and it will, as a frog in the pot, it will boil away. So together, devotees can associate with Krishna through kirtan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left 8 verses, we were saying. The first 2, which it would be nice to, we will just read the translation, is all glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Krishna that cleans the heart of all the dust accumulated from years and extinguishes the fire of conditioned, illusioned life, characterized by repetitive birth and death. This movement of Sankirtan is the greatest blessing for all humanity, because it spreads the rays of the moon. It spreads the moon-like rays of blessings. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge, expands the ocean of transcendental happiness, and it habilitates us to taste in full the nectar for which we are always anxious. So it is described that the devotee is very anxious for Krishna. We are all anxious in this material world, but it is a type of anxiety that is not of great value. It is, it's not very attractive. The anxiety that we can appreciate the most in movies, naturally, is the anxiety of a beloved for the beloved. Of two lovers, the anxiety to meet each other, the pain of separation. We are used to these themes. But in this material world, even though that is, in this material world, we have the distorted reflection. In Bhagavad Gita, I can't remember the verse, but it is explained of this banyan tree on the bank of a river, and its reflection That is the spiritual world, and we are in the material world where it is only an illusion. And the shape is distorted. It is not the same quality of pure love that we are looking for, of the original banyan tree, but the shape is muddled. In the second Shikshastakam is, O my Lord, in your holy name is capable to give all benediction to living beings, and you have hundreds and thousands of names as Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested, you have put all your transcendental energies, and there are no difficult rules to follow them in chanting. Oh my Lord, by your kindness, you let us approach you easily through your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. So this is the great danger, because Krishna is very approachable. If you listen, if you chant in Kirtan, if you listen attentively to the names, it is, the teachers say it is guaranteed that you are doing devotional service, you're doing spiritual advancement, and that you will taste Krishna's closeness eventually. But it is so risky that even though it is so opulent, so easy, we can lose attraction for them. This is very dangerous and very easy to fall into. And there are no difficult rules to chant them, it is said. No difficult rules. So this is Kali Yuga, we are so degraded. We have no understanding, we have short lives, tormented by terrible diseases, ridiculous diseases, obesity. The situation is very undignified. So we are not able to do some complex, elaborate spiritual practices. So what is the special mercy that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought to us freely is this easy method, this most powerful method of the chanting of the holy names and the listening to them. We chant them in glorification. The Maha Mantra is also a prayer to put me in devotional service. Give me devotional service. This is my identity. This is what I'm made for. Please, O Radharani, or feminine energy of Krishna, please put me in the service of your beloved. So this is our prayer. And also when we are singing the Maha Mantra, we are doing some sort of service. We are glorifying. The names of Krishna are very glorious. Krishna means the most fascinating. When we are singing this name of Krishna, it is a glorification. So we are doing this devotional service. So in the chanting of the holy names, there is both devotional service and also the great mercy of being in contact with the Lord, because the Lord is non-different from His names. But the risk is that if we do not concentrate enough on these holy names, and if we do not taste anything, if we are not able to attract Krishna in our singing, and so in His closeness appreciate it, our soul, which is naturally pleasure seeking, won't find any other alternative than material enjoyment, and it will, deepen itself in this illusion of being the enjoyer and in activities that are different from this devotional life. Because it is said in Bhagavad Gita that the individual can never be still. The mind can never be still. The body is there's always need for action. To maintain the body, there's always need for action. So you have to apply that action somewhere. Do you walk in the direction? You have to walk. Do you walk in the direction that doesn't bring anywhere? Or do you walk in the direction that brings to spiritual fulfillment and to Krishna? So, but if you do not taste, if you are not fortunate enough to have received this seed of the devotee and be nurtured by his association, by their mercy, then you will keep walking in this mature life birth after birth. But the reassuring thing is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is infinite. So we might not stumble into it at the moment, but in the eternal point of view, our birth and deaths are actually very brief, very ephemeral. So Krishna's mercy is infinite, so we can rest assured that sooner or later it will be our turn. It is also, I was trying recently to understand this subject of sentiment, because you can see Krishna's form in the deities and not feel anything. It's probably the most common situation, But even you can listen to Krishna's leelas, listen to his name, and not feel anything. That is probably the most common situation. And Prabhupada says, I couldn't find the way to express this, and Prabhupada says very eloquently, it's simply to appreciate. And he says, who doesn't who doesn't approach Krishna with love will not be able to appreciate, because it is that love that we are feeling, that devotion that we are feeling, that is giving us pleasure. We can also read maybe, Krishna's leelas and say, these are such nice stories, they're nice, poetically they are nice stories, nice images, but there won't be any bliss, there won't be any spiritual sentiment if we do not read them with love and see, this is Krishna's enjoyment. Krishna is happy. And at that point, we will also appreciate. It is said that first there is Guru Kripa and then Krishna Kripa. Because Krishna is something that is very distant from us in our situation. We are tormented by material desires, our understanding is very limited. So Krishna's leelas, Krishna's personalities is something very far away from us at the moment. We cannot conceive of it. And so Krishna, it is the devotee's mercy that comes first, and that he is carrying the mercy of Krishna, that is very high up. And in the same way, it is not easy to Prabhupada said, who approaches Krishna with love will be able to appreciate him. But it is not easy to approach the personality of Krishna that easily, because it is something so inconceivable for us. Very inconceivable. We are so distant. How can we appreciate his form? How can we appreciate his leela? But Krishna is so merciful that he has infinite avatars. We said, there are so many Vaikuntha planets where each avatar of Krishna is present and has a relationship with his devotees that have natural relationship with that form of Krishna. So Krishna has infinite avatars. And the most merciful is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we were saying that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't accept any offenses. There's a famous story in Chaitanya Charitamrita of two drunkards that hit with a broken pot Nityananda Prabhu, which is none other than Balarama and Sankarsana, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that has come, Krishna that has come in this most merciful form, was about to kill them. But he stopped because he and Sri Nityananda do not accept any offenses. So this is the most merciful form, the closest to us, the one who has come closest to us. Krishna is very distant and rightly so, isn't interested in the material world. He is not involved in the administration of the material world. Vishnu is managing the material realm, Mahavishnu, and Krishna himself is not interested. So but in His infinite mercy and His will to be approachable to us, He comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a devotee. And His pastimes are for us somehow more approachable. And we can understand and appreciate better. And this is to say that, as we were saying, Krishna is so far away, how can we approach Him with love if we cannot understand Him? There's a downward coming chain to facilitate us. Even the Guru, as we were saying, is an image. Prabhupada says the Guru is as good as God. We cannot see God. How can we have relationship with God? How can we serve God? There is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is more approachable, and even more approachable than Him is a spiritual master, the devotee, in which we can enter in relationship, and that same quality of relationship will be there. A spiritual service of devotion. So our duty is to love Krishna purely. This is our duty. This is our dharma. Because Krishna expands Himself for the pleasure of rasa, for His pleasure, and we are His part and parcels, expanded by Him to give Him pleasure in our service, in our sincere relationship with Him. So, this is in English I wouldn't know how to, because this was a little creative part. But the concept is that Krishna is the most, we are all, that our greatest value as part and parcels is of servants, but we need a absolute subject for our devotion. We cannot find a subject that is sufficient for this in this realm, because we are made to participate in that what Yogamaya and the Krishna's pleasure potency are arranging for His pleasure, which is the spiritual world in which everything is invested in devotional service to Krishna. So Krishna, we can imagine this as in these pictures. We have many pictures of Prabhupada used to describe these images as images to the spiritual world, because they represent the spiritual world, so in some way they're not even different from it. And in these, we can imagine the spiritual world as this image, and you see that everything is revolving around Krishna in these images. So Krishna is sitting in the position of the enjoyer, and we are the servants around, because Krishna is the one. We have Krishna's qualities, but limitedly, and He deserves to be the center of attention because He has them infinitely. He is the most charismatic. In this world, we are all very much fascinated with charismatic actors, charismatic sports players. There's a tendency to worship these charismatic personalities. But Krishna is the most charismatic, the most fortunate, and the most opulent. He displays all the qualities that we are attracted to on an infinite scale. And it is for His exceptional nature that He deserves, it is right that He is the center of our attentions. Because we are His infinite parcels that are distinct from Him for the pleasure that He has in somehow even showing His beauty in relationship with others, and having also someone to love, because we know that we are only tiny parts of Krishna. But then there is Radharani, which is the eternal consort of Krishna, that is equal to Him, in quality, in capacity. And Krishna wants to love also, rightly so. We have said that this relationship, this tension, is the most beautiful thing that that we can find. So we can understand that it is that also Krishna wants it. In this eternal movement of separation and unitement. And Krishna is the supreme enjoyer of all this, of this infinite display of devotional service, of infinite parcels of his that are engaged in this pure, constant devotional service, because he is the heart of the painting. He is the center of the painting. And yes, that is actually all that I have to say. I think maybe more or less in time. And yes, I don't know. Thank you for listening. And if you have any question, I can try to answer. Now we will do kirtan, so we will put in practice what we have said.
So now we will move all of the chairs back over here, and then we stand up and dance. Boys over here, girls over here.
Mai è venuto?